This week on the Pro Wrestling Podcast. The Rock makes a huge appearance on the Pat McAfee show and spills the beans on his original plans to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. TKO is officially a thing. WWE is no longer owned outright by the McMahon family for the first time ever. Jade Cargill finishing up with AEW and bound for WWE. And the infamous Coffeezilla investigates the podcast scandal that Jim Cornette is involved in and has been talking about so heavily on his show. I'm your host, Seth Grimes, and this is the Pro Wrestling Podcast. What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast, episode 90. I am your boy, Seth Grimes. Episode fucking 90. Can you believe that? We are on the home stretch to 100 episodes. Unbelievable. I've never done 100 of anything in my entire life. But 100, not 500, Jesus Christ, 100 full episodes are about to be in the can as I am inching my way towards that. Should be there by the end of the year, barring any long-term comas. This is episode 90, however. How are you guys doing? How was your week? Lots of big news in the world of pro wrestling, punctuated by a giant appearance by The Rock on Smackdown. We'll talk a little bit about that. Lots to get into. Surprisingly light on the CM Punk news this week. I probably could have left it out altogether, but I did include something on CM Punk, which I thought would be fun to share. But before we get into all of that, if I could bug you to please like, follow, and subscribe at Seth Grimes Media, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, or X, or what's the best course of it? They should never change the name. It's so fucking stupid. Now we got to play this game where we're like on Twitter or X or AKA or used to be or formerly, or just keep the branding, man. Branding is important. But I digress. Let's go ahead and jump on into our first topic here today. Are we good? Are we squared away? You guys subscribed? You pull it up with your thumbs on your clickety-clacker? Subscribe down below on the YouTube button if you're watching there. Let's go. Let's get it. First story here today. If you smell The Rock made a surprise appearance on the Pat McAfee show this week. They were broadcasting live from the campus of some college in Denver. Forgive me, I'm not a college guy. But they were live on the campus doing a live show, and The Rock was their guest. And charming as all fuck, as always. The Rock was, it was a fantastic interview. They got into The Rock running for president, the XFL, all that shit. And, of course, it was this big story that made the news this week that The Rock was locked in his own words, locked in for the match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania until he wasn't. Check out this clip.
Last year in LA.
Yeah.
SoFi. Roman obviously on an incredible run.
Yeah.
The bloodline, huh?
Yeah.
They're not talking about my bloodline.
No.
They're not talking about Connor's bloodline.
Definitely not.
The Ty's definitely not.
Nope.
Tones, no. AJ Hawk's bloodline runs real deep. They're not talking about it. They were talking about your bloodline. So that story was a big one. The Rock and Roman, SoFi, LA. How close? Did that ever, and was that close?
All right, so the Rock headlining WrestleMania with Roman Reigns, SoFi Stadium, that was locked
What?
We were.
No way.
We were doing it. We were doing it. We were doing it. But let me just tell you. So, about in the beginning of 2022, Nick Khan, who we know,
Friend of ours, shout out
very
Nicky.
good friend, long time for years.
Dog.
He's the man. He was very instrumental in bringing Vince and I together. We all flew to LA. We met. We sat. This is the beginning in 2022. And we broke out the Terramana. We toasted life, toasted the business we love. And about an hour later, we started talking about the potential of what this match could be between myself and Roman Reigns headlining WrestleMania at SoFi. And we shook hands and we hugged right there, all three of us at the table, and said, let's do this. And so the North Star, though, so then we had a year to really think about this. Yeah. So the North Star thought was, okay, let's not do something good, let's not do something great, let's do something unprecedented. And it was in what can we create for the fans that has never been done before. A match, great. Roman, incredible athlete. He's going to be on Mount Rushmore.
Super handsome.
Right? Super handsome, good dude. My cousin, family, amazing. We can have the match, but the bigger thought was, what can we do for the fans in this business that we love that will, where WrestleMania isn't the end of something, it's actually the beginning of something bigger.
Got it.
So
what happened?
So we got really, really close, but we couldn't actually nail what that thing was. So we decided to put our pencils down, and then we agreed, hey, listen, there is a merger coming up. Eventually that will happen. There's WrestleMania in Philadelphia.
Whoa.
Lift the eyebrow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that's a potential too. So I'm open. But again, let's figure out what that is, because the fans deserve something just incredible and unprecedented. And not only that, but also want to deliver to the locker room and the boys and the girls back there who are working their asses off. What can we do to put them in a position where they're part of something that is a new change, an era in this world of pro wrestling? Again, Vince is a big picture thinker, as you know.
Yes, sir.
And this is why we've gotten along for years, just trying to think big picture. So,
how do you feel about his mustache right now?
Strong.
How do you feel about
you think strong?
Oh,
Strong?
yeah,
Strong.
Now, you could pretend to smell what The Rock is cooking and believe that it was just some sort of storyline thing that fell through. The story didn't make sense, right? The story didn't make sense. Or, if you want to be more of a conspiracy theorist about it, we could tap on into this clip from Sean Ross Sapp talking about The Rock on the on Fightful on the Smackdown post show, after Rock made a tremendous appearance, by the way, on SmackDown. A fucking amazing, that pop. Did you hear that pop? That's the shit that wrestling is made of. That was just as much as, like a CM Punk got at the United Center, I would imagine. I was there for the United Center one. It was the biggest pop I had ever been a part of. Man, I was fucking jealous of the people there in Denver. I was, as a matter of fact, I was hoping that The Rock would show up in Detroit for SummerSlam. When I was there, I was low-key kind of half hoping that he would because of the whole Hollywood thing, the writer's strike and such. But that wasn't the case, but he was there at SmackDown. But for more information on how the whole Roman Reigns thing fell apart, as I sidebar completely here, check out this clip from Sean Ross Sapp, the SmackDown post show.
And then this morning, The Rock does his interview with Pat McAfee, and they're talking a lot about wrestling, because why wouldn't they be talking about wrestling, right? Like, Pat McAfee's got that connection. Pat McAfee can get away with asking these questions as well. And it's not an accident. It's not an accident that they, just happen to talk about all that stuff and get all that hype built back up. Because let's be real, we had all given up on The Rock and Roman Reigns. It was very much this past year, if it wasn't this past year, it wasn't happening. Then The Rock started to say some stuff that made an awful lot of sense. Now, what I am about to theorize is not a report, but here's how it appears the order of operations went, sprinkled with some facts that I do know to be true that we have reported on FightfulSelect.com. The Rock said that he, Nick Khan, Vince McMahon met early last year and discussed the potential of Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania. He said, oh, we could do something good or we could do something amazing. Listen, that is complete horseshit. If you can tell anything from Roman Reigns' current reign, it's that he very clearly does not need the championship. It would have been fine with Cody Rhodes taking the championship, any of that. He didn't need it. Well, what happened in July? Vince McMahon got ousted. He had to retire. If you've got The Rock versus Roman Reigns nailed down, come on, I'm sorry, you're going with that. I love Cody. He's great. Finished the story. It was incredible. He's unbelievably over. He's selling out houses, asses in seats. Fightful Select reported that he had the top selling merchandise at Payback, but you got to do The Rock and Roman Reigns. You got to. However, I would theorize that once the Vince stuff unfolded, Rock's like, probably not. Cody ends up being penciled in, but by November even, I had seen a document that listed the WrestleMania matches as planned. And one of them was Roman Reigns versus TBA on night 2. The other one was Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins / Drew McIntyre, which would imply that that Cody was penciled in night 1, top title match against either Seth or Drew. Then night 2 would be Roman Reigns against TBA. Now you could take that as, well, will it be Cody or Seth or Drew, or will it be The Rock? I don't know, but I thought that interview was interesting timing. Pro Wrestling Podcast says, I got you $1. Hopefully a lot of you get us dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Vince McMahon no longer in the picture. That would be enough to dissuade The Rock from participating in the reindeer games of that year. I don't know if it had as much to do with Triple H as much as maybe just he preferred to deal with Vince and had the deal worked out with Vince, or maybe he just wanted to distance himself from it completely. You know, maybe just didn't want to kind of touch that scandal with a 10-foot pole. That could be the issue as well. Regardless, when Dwayne says that, oh, the story kind of fell through, you know, I want to look at what kind of story we can tell and what kind of difference we can make and blah, 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 right? It was good practice for his presidential run with his political bullshit answers. Because ultimately he pulled out probably right around the same time that Vince McMahon got into all kinds of trouble and everything switched over. He stepped down, he resigned, everything switched over to Triple H, and The Rock just bailed out on it at that point. That's the most likely situation, and it's kind of a shame because WrestleMania 40 in Hollywood or 39 in Hollywood made the most sense for The Rock in Hollywood. That's the Rock City, right? But like he said, there's always WrestleMania 40, which is bad news for Cody Rhodes, who wants to finish the story. Now, there's nothing saying that the story has to be finished at WrestleMania, but what are you going to finish it at fucking Backlash? At Backlash? Not good enough to commentate Backlash? One of the most epic promos in the history of the WWE, if you know what I'm talking about, brother. I mean, he can always win the title. The Rock, face it, Roman versus Rock does not need the Universal WWE Heavyweight Undisputed Triple Heavyweight Crown Championship of the world. It doesn't need it. So he could theoretically drop it to Cody at the Royal Rumble. He could theoretically drop it to Cody night 1 of WrestleMania and then face Rock night 2. Who knows? I don't know. But it doesn't look good for Cody's story. Kind of going back to what I had said is that it's nice to extend the story. Sure, Cody didn't have to finish the story at WrestleMania. You could drag it out another year and tell a longer 2-year story. More struggles, Brock Lesnar, all of that, but you run the risk of many things. Cody losing momentum, losing fan support, which he seems to just be gaining. So I was wrong there. He could get injured. So far, so good. Knock on wood. So far, I'm wrong there. But what if, The Rock wants to come in and have a match with Roman Reigns now? Well, Cody Rhodes is pretty cool, but he's not The Rock. He's not the biggest star in the history of everything. So, Cody's finished the story, brother, is in jeopardy. But, man, we were very close to having that match. I think we still will. Clearly, The Rock still loves the WWE. He loves showing up there. He loves being there. We'll sweep under the rug the fact that he has nowhere else to be or nothing else to do right now because the Hollywood writer strikes. I think, aren't the actors striking too now at this point? Or somebody, I don't fucking know. The writers are still for sure, though. I think it's just basically over the AI in the scripts, right? Because, Hollywood's just going to start switching all their work up to AI. Once that shit gets rolling, they're going to have AI write their scripts. Then they'll just have like a proofreader just fucking touch it up or whatever. They don't need all these people anymore, and that's what they're fighting for, as I understand it. But The Rock's got all kinds of time on his hands now. Same with John Cena. That's why they're both there. But The Rock versus Roman Reigns is the match. You cannot bring The Rock back and not involve him with the bloodline at some point. Now, this was probably just a one-off for now. But with Rock not really having a Hollywood career to worry about at the moment, no, there's no filming going on. Nobody's filming anything right now. Nobody's writing anything new that'll be filmed once the shit's over with. We're going to run into a little bit of a lull here. Now, this has happened before, but I believe this has gone on longer than previous writer strikes. I could be wrong about that, but I do remember them being a thing before, but it's always kind of, it's like when the government's going to shut down, right? Everybody oh no, the government didn't approve the debt ceiling. They're going to shut down. Oh no, like it happens every year. Relax. It'll be fine. You're going to get your mail. The sun will come up tomorrow. Okay. But, I mean, it's interesting to think about how this could end up playing out as we see it right now. The Rock just made a one-off. I do believe The Rock will probably want to come back and work with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, especially because Vince is back now, and especially because of TKO. They're going to want to make a statement. That's probably just as much to do with this as The Rock being bored sitting home on his couch, not having anything to do, is that this was the first Smackdown in the new era of TKO. And they're going to be shopping around for rights deals, too. So having The Rock and John Cena on your TV show doesn't hurt, does it? They can kind of pull those tricks and show their power. It's going to be interesting, though, like I said, to see how all this plays out and where this heads and how it's going to affect everybody else, how it'll affect poor Cody. Can't finish the story with Seth Rollins' newly created World Heavyweight title. That's not going to do it justice. You might as well win the fucking United States title. We want the big one. Roman's title. That's what we need. Maybe he loses it night one. Maybe he loses it at the Royal Rumble. Maybe Cody just misses the opportunity altogether. Who knows? Maybe he gets it at Backlash. You want him to win the title at Backlash? Now I'm making it sound like the Affleck. At Affleck. This clip has gone off the rails. And there's not a lot more to say about this. The Rock, though, back in the picture seemingly. Fantastic appearance at Smackdown. Austin Theory dropped the ball, by the way. I'll throw my 2 cents in on this while we're here. I thought Austin Theory did horrible. I thought he looked very minor league and just fakey. You know, he was pretending in there. He could not stand toe-to-toe with The Rock if his life depended on it. I know he tucked himself in at bed at night, or maybe his mom did, with some milk and cookies or something at the end of the night and told him, hey, kid, you did really good out there, but I thought he dropped the ball. I thought he looked minor league. I thought he did not stand up to The Rock in the jousting, busting out The Rock's lines, interrupting him, calling himself Austin in The Rock in the ring again at the one last time, except this time. No, all of it, no. Austin Theory is a failed experiment. He is a mid-carder at best. I don't care how sexy he is and how handsome he looks and how young he is, and Vince has got a hard-on for him and whatever. It doesn't matter. The guy he's only got so much in the tank. He's not a particularly standout wrestler, and his promo work needs work. You put him in the ring with the great one, and he sank. He fucking sank. And I thought he got buried, and rightfully so. The Rock kind of buries everybody when you promo joust with him, but McAfee was having fun in there. He was having a good old time. But that is the status as of now. Where do you think things are going? Do you think The Rock is going to be around a little bit more? Do you think he's going to get involved? Do you think he's going to have a match with Theory? Do you think he's going to have a match with Roman? Or both? Now that he doesn't have the Hollywood shit to worry about for a minute. And do you think this hurts Cody's chances of finishing the story? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. It is the dawning of a whole new era in the world of pro wrestling and sports entertainment, as TKO Holding Groups is now a thing. It has officially hit the market. It has now gone public, and it is now under the WWE is now under the control of a separate company. For the first time ever in the history of pro wrestling, the McMahon family is not the boss, is not the be-all, end-all. They're not the say-so in the WWE. For more on the New York Stock Exchange part of this, let's check out the New York Stock Exchange YouTube channel. We got a clip from them talking about this company going public, and then we got a couple other clips for you, and we're definitely going to dive into what this means for the future of the WWE, UFC, all of it. Let's go ahead and check this out.
Ready to celebrate the partnership between Endeavor Group Holdings, ticker symbol EDR, and World Wrestling Entertainment, also known as the WWE, which is also its ticker symbol. Today, together, these powerhouse companies are forming TKO Group Holdings Incorporated, and today it will officially begin trading under the ticker symbol TKO. Today marks the start of the long-standing relationship with the NYSE community of over 2,400 listed companies. And just to give you a little recap, Endeavor is a spin-off company formed by the UFC and WWE, merging with Ari Emanuel as CEO. Endeavor holds 51% stake in TKO Group Holdings, with WWE's shareholders having about 49% stake. And to honor the occasion, one medallion and FTB gavel was gifted to Ariel Manuel, who is the CEO, along with the listing certificate a little earlier this morning. Now, the merger will mark the first time that the WWE has not been majority controlled by the McMahon family, which was founded by the company and owned it for 70 years. Vince McMahon will serve as executive chairman of the new entity, with Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel becoming the new company's CEO and Mark Shapiro serving as president and chief operating officer. Now, Emanuel will take on any creative roles in the WWE or the UFC, with Nick Khan becoming president of WWE post-merger and Dana White remaining in his role as president of the UFC.
Surreal is a word that gets thrown around pretty frivolously. Frivolously, also a word that gets thrown around frivolously, but surreal is the word to describe this. Dana White up there with Vince McMahon and the New York Stock Exchange, and Triple H and Nick Khan and fucking, was it Daniel Cormier? Was he there too? Ari Emanuel and the other fuck that he's there with. This was weird. It was weird. It was like a whole parallel universe. Suddenly now UFC and the WWE are fucking together. They're all one big company. And Vince McMahon is not the boss. He's kind of the boss, though. He is the chairman of the board. So Vince can still call himself the chairman. He's always been the chairman. That's his job. And look, he's got a lot of history being a chairman. So if Ari Emanuel is not going to be the chairman of the board of TKO, Vince McMahon is certainly the right guy for that job. But that technically puts him above Dana White. Because Dana White is the CEO and the president or whatever the fuck of UFC. And fucking Nick Khan is the president of the WWE. And then you have Vince McMahon above them both, and then Ari Emanuel above them both as TKO, which is a spin-off company from Endeavor. Now, Endeavor was the company that bought this, but what they did was they have ownership stake in TKO, and then they have gone public with the rest of TKO. So they've spun this company off out of Endeavor as its own separate entity. So Endeavor, a parent company, I guess, but not technically. They're just the number one stakeholder. Now TKO is its separate. It gets confusing. But Vince McMahon is the boss man of Dana White, which is hilarious. And speaking of Dana White was asked about this, and this has made its rounds recently as well. Rather laughably, he was asked about the comment that one of his higher ups, I believe, or somebody he works with closely, the chief marketing officer or content officer or some shit like that for the UFC, wants to have UFC fans and WWE fans be 100% all crossover fans of each. And of course, Dana White, never shy with his words, had a good laugh at this. Check out this clip.
Dana, I just got one. If we can get your thoughts on it. Epstein, Lawrence said something to ESPN today. He said, where we want to get is where every UFC fan is a WWE fan and every WWE fan is a UFC fan. Do you see similarities in the fan base, and how achievable is that goal?
Lawrence, I love you. One of the dumbest statements of all time. Yeah, I don't know why he said that. I don't even know what to say to that. No. There's some crossover. Some people like WWE, some people like UFC, some people like both. I don't think there's ever going to be a day where we turn every UFC fan into a WWE fan or every WWE fan. What's beautiful about the synergy between these two fan bases is they are very completely opposite. You know, there's very little crossover. And again, maybe he was misquoted. I hope that's the case, because I could not disagree with him more.
That clip from the Mac Life YouTube channel. I am not familiar with that, but apparently they do interviews or show clips or whatever. They do UFC shit, right? I've seen other UFC interviews and stuff on there. But Dana White, look, this is fun. And this is something I was thinking about too, because UFC, the way Dana runs UFC, he's out front in these press conferences. He'll say a fight sucked. He'll say something is bullshit. He'll push back. He is outspoken. He's crass. He's brash. He's Trump-esque in his delivery, where he doesn't care about your feelings. He doesn't care about what people think. He's just going to say what's on his mind. Now, compare that to the extremely fucking polished, corporate, speak everything, reserved WWE. I wonder if that is something that will end up changing. Dana White was asked more in depth about this to some man on the street interviewer, another guy I don't know of. But this clip comes from Adam's Apple. It's a YouTube channel, I guess. But he asked Dana White, just walked up to him on the street and asked him more about the synergies of the WWE and the UFC. Check out this clip.
This relationship's going to be interesting.
What does this mean for the UFC? How is it going to change things? Are the viewers going to be seeing anything different? What's going to happen?
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. I'm going to still do what I do. They're going to do what they do, and Ari's going to do what he does, and I'm sure it's going to work out just fine.
Do you still have final say, or have more majority say?
Yeah, I'm the CEO of the UFC now. So Ari has stepped down, and Ari is the CEO of TKO, and I still control everything.
Do you report to Ari? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
And these guys are going to do what they do, and we're going to kick a bunch of ass just like we always do.
Are you going to work alongside WWE? Are you going to be promoting WWE shows on UFC?
Well, our teams are going to, work together. Basically, what Ari brings to the table for the WWE is he'll, more sponsorship, licensing, new television contracts, and the synergies between us and WWE. There's some stuff with production that we can do to save costs for them and make this thing incredibly successful.
Will you see any crossover between UFC stars going to WWE or UFC?
Well, we have. I mean, we have in the past. Not unless it fits, or they, like Ronda Rousey. She always wanted to wrestle in the WWE, so she did. She was good enough to do it. Brock Lesnar wanted to fight in the UFC. He did because he was good enough to do it. Those will be the scenarios.
So is this a good thing for UFC fighters, where now they have the easier transition, where they have that escape? They want to leave UFC.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and they probably get great tickets to the WWE. So yeah.
So how is this going to affect the WWE? What kind of changes are going to be happening to the WWE? Well, for one, we know Vince McMahon is back in charge. This was confirmed by Dave Meltzer over at the Wrestling Observer, who's talking about what's going on with this TKO thing over on the WWE side. Check out this clip.
Obviously, as everyone knows, tomorrow is the start of the new company. WWE will become part of TKO. They're going to be merging, and Vince McMahon is back. He made multiple changes to the show tonight. There were also multiple changes made by Levesque. But Vince is back from his surgery leave. He's back in the chair. He was not in Roanoke. He did this from, but he was involved in the production of the show via remote.
Great.
Yeah. And, going forward, he's the guy. He's the chairman. And he's running the wrestling company. I know that there's the whole thing of he's second in command to Ari Emanuel, or tied for second in command. I think Mark Shapiro's at the same level. But when it comes to wrestling, Ari Emanuel is very willing to say, I don't know wrestling. He knows wrestling. So it's Vince's baby when it comes to the creative end. It's Vince's baby when it comes to decisions making on the company, and all that. You know, Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan and Mark Shapiro are going to be the guys who are handling the TV negotiations. That they will do. And even then, you know, Vince will have power to a degree over that. But that will be, you know, I mean, that's a pretty heavy crew of people when you got Ari and Nick Khan together on these new round of negotiations.
So now with Vince being the executive chairman of the board of TKO, and he's meddling in the weeds of the WWE, making changes to the fucking script, what kind of changes is he going to make to the UFC? If I were, people are worried about what kind of changes are going to happen to the WWE, UFC needs to be worried about what kind of changes are going to be made to the UFC now that Vince is overseeing the whole fucking thing. You know, Dana was asked, do you report to Ari? He said yes. But Vince McMahon is the chairman of the board. Now, Ari is Vince's boss. Ari is the CEO of TKO. So Ari is the top guy. But Vince sits underneath him and above Dana White and Nick Khan. So will Vince meddle in the UFC? I don't know. As far as the WWE, I don't expect to see much change at all. There wasn't much change to the UFC. I wonder, did the Reebok sponsorship thing come in where like everybody had to get rid of their sponsorship patches and everything was like uniformly sponsored by Reebok or whatever, and everybody had to wear, there was like a fucking a uniform mandate or whatever in the UFC. I think that happened under the Endeavor purchase. But really, like, you see Dana White out there shit talking on every post show. Ari Emanuel doesn't come in and tell him who should fight who or anything like that. He lets Dana do Dana and run the UFC. As Dana said that they're by that when he was talking about the synergies and stuff, what Endeavor is really going to bring to the table for the WWE is more of the sponsorship deals, the marketing. They're going to try to do things where, you know, because UFC is getting into bidding, cities bidding on them too now, which is something WWE's already been doing for WrestleManias and things like that. Now they've been trying to do all their pay-per-views at stadium shows. This is going to continue to where we're hearing now. I think it was Meltzer that had reported this, that it's going to be, they're going to try to sell the block where you get Smackdown Friday, UFC Saturday, WWE Sunday, whatever, Raw Monday. I don't know if they're doing that. Well, but you get the point. That kind of stuff is smart. They can combine sell for, you know, licensing and sponsorships and bidding on cities. It's all on the financial end. Endeavor really doesn't have in their great, they have good, they're a management business for their entertainment management for actors and stuff like that. So that can open up doors in Hollywood for some wrestlers. I just don't see, Ari Emanuel does not strike. He was the guy that insisted Vince come back, right? He wanted Vince in the chair. He doesn't want to go in and book the matches. He doesn't give a shit. Did The Rock coming back have anything to do with TKO saying, hey, can we get The Rock? Are they going to maybe do that kind of shit? Perhaps. But I can't see, Ari's not a micromanager. He doesn't seem like that. He looks at, hey, we can combine these properties and we can really just, he's big on that word, synergies. We can just use all of our tools to market both of these fucking juggernaut machines and reach a wider audience. As Dana said, he actually thinks that's the perk of this union, is that they do reach separate audiences and that they shouldn't be crossover. There is some, but not much, right? Especially on the UFC fan side. UFC fans do not like WWE at all. It's that fake, phony shit. And wrestling fans are like, I don't know, I'll watch the guys that are characters and personalities. The guys that are WWE-esque, like a Conor McGregor, he was always a WWE-esque kind of guy. People like that, even back in the day, Tito Ortiz. Dana tried the UFC, the WWE-esque. He used to have the fireworks, and he had the big Tron and the ramp. When Zuffa first bought the UFC, they made it look like WWE in the presentation. And it wasn't until later they kind of adapted more of a boxing, like a fight feel. But I wouldn't be surprised if Vince wanted to step in and make some decisions on the theatrics side, or make like a super show. Like, let's make the biggest card where all your top star, the WrestleMania of UFC. UFC doesn't really have that. They just keep doing UFC. They have some big shows and some smaller shows. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, but I don't expect much change in the WWE. I expect changes on things like ads, sponsorships. I expect them to possibly even loosen up on the excuse me. I expect them to possibly even loosen up on the PG type stuff, to allow more blood. UFC is a bloody sport. To allow more wild promos, more shit talking like the UFC has, or like Dana White himself does. They can make it more adult oriented, but then again, do you want to do that, or do you want to have the WWEs for the kiddies and the UFCs for the grown-ups? Who knows how they go about it, but those are the kind of changes I expect to see, but I certainly don't expect to see any involvement in the booking other than Vince McMahon's dirty, grubby paws. But what are your thoughts on this whole UFC? I mean, look, man, any way you want to slice it, this is surreal, as I started at the beginning of this. Surreal's the word. I have never lived a life. I've never been alive where the WWE was not run under the iron fist of Vince McMahon. And even before him, it was owned by his daddy. It has never belonged to a fucking corporate entity. It is now. It does now. He has sold off his baby. They could kick Vince McMahon out tomorrow if another scandal popped up, and he's gone and he's out. And WWE this is not a Vince McMahon product anymore. It is, as long as he's there. I would not expect to see any changes, but maybe, 20 years from now, the WWE could look completely different than it does right now. That's something that I might expect to see. But who knows? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. TKO officially a thing now. WWE owned by another company. Holy shit. In what I would consider the biggest bonehead blunder move possibly in AEW history, certainly since the loss of Cody Rhodes, or some might even say since the firing of CM Punk. Of course, I'm talking about the well-publicized news this week that Jade Cargill, that bitch, Jade Cargill, is done. She has wrapped up her time with All Elite Wrestling and is now moving on, apparently all speed ahead, to the WWE. And for more on this information, let's go ahead and check out this clip here from the man who broke the news himself, Mr. Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful.
I'm intrigued to see. First of all, we don't know when her contract's actually up, right? We just know that this was probably her last appearance. Do you have any clarity on that?
No, but I poke around. All right, I poke around, and when I was asking yesterday, I was told, "Oh, you want to tell me when the contract's up?" And somebody said, "Well, she's under contract as of now." And I was like, "So today?" And they're like, "Yeah, as of today, she's under contract." And I said, "And at 12:01 a.m.?" And that person said, at 12:01 a.m. Eastern, she will be featured on AEW Rampage on Friday.
Well, okay, then. It sounds like maybe sooner rather than later, but not anything that we can confirm at this time. But some poking around that happens.
That all but confirms it for me. Look, Sean Ross Sapp doesn't report bullshit, especially when it comes to contracts. That's his forte. If anybody's going to know the scoop on when a contract is up, it's going to be Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful. Not to mention that she was backstage hugging everybody goodbye, kissing everybody goodbye, and that the general consensus is that she's heading to the WWE, which is huge. And if you don't think so, you are sadly mistaken. But don't take it from me. Take it from the five-time, technically 6, Booker T. Check out this clip.
What do you think? Cargill to WWE? Do you like this? Look at your face.
No, man. I said it some months back. You know what I mean? I said it some months back. I said, Jade Cargill has WWE written all over her. That's what I said. I said she's a WWE superstar. You know what I mean? Not that she didn't fit in or could not fit in AEW. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying she is what WWE has always promoted. That super athlete, that super soldier. You know what I'm saying? So, nah, man, this is something I anticipated. I didn't, put it out there or anything as far as saying Jade Cargill was going to be coming to WWE.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, BT. You just cut out on us there for a moment.
There we go. I did feel like Cargill was perfect. That perfect star for the WWE. I mean, her star power is so huge right now. I mean, just say this for instance, they put a title on her, and they didn't even have to make her a champ, but she still was the focal point of that whole thing. Everybody was waiting when Jade Cargill was going to go against Britt Baker. That never happened. I don't think, right?
Not for the title. No,
exactly.
I don't believe they ever had the match.
I don't think they ever had the match or anything like that. And I think, of course, they were grooming Jade Cargill because, of course, she is a little green. But from the growth of the performance of Jade Cargill over the past few times I've seen her in the ring, she looked like she's progressing relatively quickly. And I think in the WWE, I think she's going to progress a whole lot quicker because WWE is not going to put in positions where she got to go out there and do a lot of the stuff that a lot of those girls over there at AEW want to do, like go out there and have a death match, want to go out there and have a glass, one of these, crazy matches, you know what I mean? And I just think in WWE, her star power is going to grow like crazy. She's going to be a mega star in WWE.
Technically 7. He had 2 WWE World title runs. Booker T weighing in on Jade Cargill to WWE. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. And this was a big-time bonehead move from Tony Khan. With the guy with all the money in the world, I have to assume that Jade just wanted out. And it doesn't sound like there's any heat there. It doesn't sound like she needed to get out because she was back, drama and none of that shit. Maybe she just knows that her star, she's got people in her ear, no doubt, telling her, you need to go to WWE. She is a WWE's wet dream. Look at this fucking woman. And I don't want to hear a goddamn thing about, she can't work, she's green. Shut the fuck up. First of all, she's had more matches than you, so kiss my ass. Unless you're like some jaded old indie vet or something. But you get what I'm saying. She doesn't need, look, first of all, she's getting progressively better. She's had decent matches. So to say that, and not great matches, but she's had passable matches under the right tutelage up in the WWE, I think she'll get much more polishing. She'll get that much better. She's shown the capacity to improve, and that's all I need from her, right? WWE will fix that shit. Now, is she going to go to NXT? No. That would be stupid. You don't put Jade Cargill in NXT. First of all, you don't put her in NXT for two reasons. One, you want to make WWE a nice, shiny fucking beacon off into the distance for AEW talent. Brian Pillman Jr. goes to NXT because he needs it. He's not a big enough star to go, that's Brian Pillman Jr. What's he doing in WWE? Jade is. Jade has mega star presence. She's a megastar. Everything about her is megastar. She was chiseled out of granite, first of all. She's tall. She's physically imposing. She looks like fucking China did, but a better version of China. Right? She can talk. You ever hear this chick on interviews? I've covered it before. You know, when she does podcast interviews or whatever. She can fucking talk. She can do media. She's got that. She gets the showbiz. She did that fancy entrance with the girls and stuff, and the whipping of the hair and the dancing, and she does the fucking Hulk gear, the She-Hulk, and all the superheroes. Like, this girl gets it. And with WWE behind her, and look, they know that. They were drooling the first second that they saw Jade. I was. The first time I saw Jade Cargill, it was, who's this? And fuck her, right? Because I'm just that way with everybody. You know, you got to impress me first. You're not going to win me over with just, oh, look at this impressive presentation. What do you got? But it did not take me long at all to just not even just become Team Jade Cargill. Not just become a fan, but fall in fucking love with this woman. And I don't mean sexually, because she would hurt me, okay? And I don't like to get hurt in bed. I like to be kissed and loved and tenderized. You know what I mean? Tendered. Like hugged, not tenderized with fists, which is what she could do because she's a big, strong woman. And this is going way off the rails here, so I digress. Jade Cargill, she's just like, her personality makes you smile. When you hear her talk, you can't help but like, I want to hang out with that girl. She has charisma coming out of her fucking eyeballs, her ears, everything is dripping off of her. She has mega star money written all over her. WWE would be Tony Khan. That's why I'm saying Tony Khan has all the money in the world. If it was a money thing, if Jade was like, I think I'm worth this much, and Tony was like, I just don't see it, fuck you, Tony Khan. You're an idiot. If Tony didn't make a very serious money offer to keep Jade, I think he's an idiot. I think he underutilized her, though. You know what? She was still learning and green and stuff, so I think maybe some of that was by design. But he could have put her more front and center doing the media stuff because she's great at it. She's going to fit in WWE like a glove. She's going to make them tons of money. Yes, she'll go there as Jade Cargill. Maybe just Jade. They like to drop the last names, right? Maybe they'll just call her Jade. But she owns that. That's her name, so she owns it. She has said in the past that, you know, with her daughter and everything, that her, you know, having free time to be a parent too, you know, like not having as busy of a schedule is part of the reason why she wanted to stay in AEW. She's been on record about this before. But WWE doesn't tour as much as they used to. And also, look, these are her prime money-making years. Her daughter is old enough to sit her down. I know my kids, I would. Her kids, at least 7 or 8, right? 9, somewhere in that range, that her daughter. She could easily sit her daughter down and be like, look, honey, I have a chance to go to the WWE and make us a lot of money and become a huge household name megastar, which can lead to movies and stuff. But I'm going to be away from the house a couple more days a week. Are you okay with that, honey? She's old enough to understand. Why is mommy always gone? I don't think it's going to be that way. She'll be like, my mommy's a superhero on TV, bitch. She gets it. She understands. She's been there. I think Jade's going for it. And I think Jade is going to be a top star, just like Cody Rhodes. That's why I say the biggest blunder Tony Khan has made in talent since losing Cody Rhodes. You know, you could argue CM Punk, you know, absolutely, especially with the ratings tanking and the, you know, I'm sure the merchandise and pay-per-view numbers are all they're going to take a while to have to crawl. That one's bleeding. That's a gaping, bleeding wound, but they'll live from it. And they lived from Cody. But letting a Jade go too, and that's one of your homegrown stars. And maybe you don't put as much stock in a homegrown whatever, it doesn't matter, but you should. You should take pride in saying, like, this woman is on her way to being a household name, and she's an AEW talent. WWE is just going to scoop her up and make her a fucking Hollywood star in 10 years. Doubt me if you like. There's very few women. She's a better Bianca Belair than Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is still coming out there going do 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 do, twirling her fucking hair. She's to cut that shit and do a heel turn, and she'll be able to kick shit up a notch, go to that next gear in her career. But just doing the same old shit, she's gonna fall off the map. She's a one-trick pony right now. It's getting old. Jade's going to come in and she's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. And look, everybody loves Jade, by the way. I don't mean that kind of problems. She's very well liked in the AEW locker room. She gets along with people well. She's smart. She learns. She's a sponge. She gets it. Wait till a Bruce Prichard and a Triple H get their dirty fucking hands on a Jade fucking Cargill. Can you imagine? Oh, the fucking money they're going to make. Put in even a Kevin Dunn and the production value that he'll put into her. She's already got the production value with AEW. You know, she's got those kind of special entrances. Kevin Dunn's going to one-up that. We heard Cody Rhodes talk about that. Cody's like, I want the same entrance I got in AEW. Kevin Dunn watched and he's like, yeah, we'll do that, but we'll do it just a little bit better because we're the WWE. And he did. So it's things like that. I think it's to the moon for Jade Cargill. I think this was a huge loss for AEW. I think also with the loss of Punk, I think they are reeling from this. Now there's even rumors that Ricky Starks might be the next to go. Oh, man. You better come with it. How do they come with it? AEW's got to get back in the game. They have to sign Edge. They have to. All roads sound like they're leading to signing Edge. They need to sign Edge, and they need to make him the face of Collision because Collision's going to die a slow death and turn into Rampage if they don't. It's the truth. I'm sorry. You know, Samoa Joe can't lead it. They're advertising a show near me for Collision. And I wasn't even sure if I was going to go when Punk was going to be there. I don't know, man. Bryan Danielson, he's great. He's probably my favorite wrestler to watch. But wrestlers don't draw crowds. That's the problem. Stars draw crowds, but also personalities and storylines and all of that. So bringing in Edge to headline Collision will get you a nice money draw around the loop all over again. Probably twice. Then what? Then you're going to, if you don't have a compelling story, it's going to become, well, I went and saw this last time I was there. I saw everybody I wanted to see. So what's going to get you back out there to see? I want to go see everybody that I wanted to see again. Or watch the matches. I can watch the matches on TV. Why? What's the I have to be there? What's the I have to be there? I have to see this happen in front of my eyes. They got to bring in Edge. That's the start. They got to balance out that Punk. Bryan Danielson's not going to do it. They already devalued Bryan Danielson, unfortunately. Not that he's any less of a talent, but his star power is devalued. So they got to bring in star power. And they got to balance out Jade, I think Mercedes Moné. Edge and Mercedes are the 1-2 punch, the heavy hitters. AEW's got to bring those two in. And now they got a fighting chance again. But they gotta work on their storylines. They got to bring in creative people. They got Jimmy Jacobs there. He's creative. He did the whole Festival of Friendship. That was his. Chris Jericho credits him for being the top creative talent mind behind that. Of course, Kevin and Chris too, but they need to have must-see shit. Losing Jade Cargill is a problem. Wait till you see Jade Cargill in WWE. I have been on the Jade Cargill train for years now. Years. But basically since it did not take much longer after she debuted for me to go, oh, okay, I see it. She's progressively getting better, even though she's not great. She's got the look. She carries herself as a star. She can handle the media, long form. She can talk to people. She gets along with people. She listens. She learns. What's not to want? She's going to make dirty money in the WWE. And she's going to become a household name and probably be able to move on to movies. But that's just my thoughts. What are your thoughts on this Jade Cargill situation? Are you a Jade Cargill? Are you team Jade? Are you seeing what I'm saying about Jade Cargill? Or are you like, I don't get it. I don't get, she sucks in the ring. She's green. Yeah, I don't get it. Maybe. I think you put her on the main roster. You give her a spectacular debut entrance. A la Chris Jericho. Bring her over like you brought in Chris Jericho. Make her interrupt a top star. A Becky Lynch, perhaps. You debut Jade the day after WrestleMania. Maybe you bring her in for the Royal Rumble. That would be the way to do it. Bring her in at number fucking 27, right? Jade Cargill. She has a dominant match at WrestleMania. Then you can start her. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Bring her in people will already know who she is. And if they don't know who she is, they'll learn quick. People are going to love them some Jade. Give her the star treatment right off the bat. Big entrance, spectacular entrance, working with a top star right off the bat. And she wins and she beats them. And she's a heel. And you're off and running. You're in the Jade Cargill business. And I, for one, will continue to enjoy following her career. And I'm excited to see where she goes. And I'm sad as a fan. I'm kind of an AEW homer. I do prefer AEW to WWE. But Jade Cargill's my bitch. I'm going to follow her where she goes. I'm going to watch her, and I'm going to cheer her on. Big loss for AEW, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Well, Jim Cornette, who is no stranger to getting himself involved in the controversy, was involved in more controversy this week. As first, he got himself involved in the whole Megan situation, the second in command over in AEW, accusing her of sleeping around with the talent. Of course, he walked into a hornet's nest with that one. And we'll see how that plays out. But also this whole Kast media situation. Cornette, of course, has been bitching endlessly on his podcast, him and Brian Last, about this Colin Thomson fella of Kast Media, who has signed a bunch of different podcasters to deals where he kind of just does all their advertising deals for them. And then divvies up the funds. Well, he's not divvying up the funds the way he should be divvying up the funds, and Cornette's pissed about it. And probably one of the last people that you want to fuck with. And for more on that situation, check out Jim Cornette and Brian Last here on the Corny's Drive-Thru talking about this Kast media situation.
You may have noticed that the advertisers and the very, very popular conversations we have about them have been out of the show for the last little while. There have been less commercials in the show the last little while. And this is because of a situation that emerged between us, Arcadian Vanguard, and Jim Cornette, and a company that was handling our advertising called Kast Media.
This guy goes from paying us every month for our advertising to all of a sudden, he misses a check. Well, what's going on? Oh, no, they're just industry issues. You've been so far up his ass, you could probably draw from memory the goddamn sketch of his fucking colon turns. And he's, oh, is it just no, there's no problems, there's no issues. And then we get a check, but it's And then we find out, oh, by the way, I'm going bankrupt. But what this alleged weasel does is he takes our money that our advertisers paid for the advertising on our shows and invests it back in another part of his company that is helping produce other people's programs. And he has got some people, as you said, in the same boat, but worse because he owes them money. He was providing them maybe producers or production facilities or who knows what kind of who shot John deal he had sold them on that he was going to benefit them in some way.
And one of those other podcasts that he mentions just so happens to be this past weekend with Theo Von, as well as a couple other prominent ones like Brandon Schwab's whole shits that he does. And it doesn't matter. I'm not a huge fan of those, but I am a fan of Theo Von, who had Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair on a couple weeks ago. He too got wrapped up in all of this mess. Check out this clip.
Our podcast was defrauded. We were stolen from. We were taken advantage of. A lot of ways to say it. The company that did it is Kast Media, and the man that did it is Colin Thomson. And I'm going to put his picture in here. It's, I don't know exactly how to say this. I'm going to do my best. We're part of a larger group of podcasts that were stolen from, right? We were in total, just between talking with folks, there's up to $4 million that I know of that people were taking advantage of. We're in the 6 figures. I know of podcasts that are in the 7 figures. And Colin Thomson, that's his name. I want to say his name so you know it. People get taken advantage of a lot in business, and businesses use tactics and stuff to hide themselves. And they'll use bankruptcy or the threat of this or that. And we had a deal with this company, right? And it was started off good, and then it started to get where we were getting less of our payments. And we were reading the ads. We do the ads, we read them out loud, and and you guys support some of them, and thank you. And then it got to be where we were getting paid less of the payment we were owed. And they sell all the ads a year in advance, so you're kind of stuck into the year, right? And the advertisers were paying Colin Thomson and Kast Media, and they weren't paying us. They would pay us a little bit, and they had a reason why. And he may get my money. That's okay. I'm fortunate that I can still have touring and that I can take care of myself. But you fuck with the wrong rat, Colin. I'll tell you that, brother. And
of course, Colin Thomson, no relation to Conrad Thompson, who was also a podcast kingpin. Or is he? Dun, dun, dun. Should I do the zoom in on the edit and the post edit, or should I just, fuck it, it'll take too much time. Colin Thomson out there fucking everybody, allegedly. And this has stirred up the attention of one Coffeezilla. Coffeezilla is a prominent YouTuber, an investigative journalist who digs into scams and scandals out there in internet land. I covered him on this show not that long ago when he famously covered the Logan Paul NFT scandal situation. And now he has caught a whiff of this whole Kast Media debacle, and he decided to dig in a little bit for himself. And of course, as any good investigative journalist would do, he went straight to the source. And no, I'm not talking about Theo Von and Jim Cornette. I'm talking about this Colin Thomson fella. He asked him, "What's up? What's up with this?" Check out this clip.
What I did want to know, though, is how did that $4 million go missing in the first place? And to try to find out, I began to reach out to everyone, starting with Colin Thomson, to ask for his side of the story.
You're being accused of basically stealing $4 million. Your clients say you defrauded them. What's your side of the story?
A musician originally, and I got into this because I wanted to support shows that were bucking the trend, going against the grain, but unique and important to the broader dialogue.
But where's the 4 million? I mean, yeah, I hear you. Everybody's got a grand vision, but the grand vision, when we get to this point, everyone wants to know where the money is, not what the vision is.
Sure. We built an infrastructure at Kast that I was and am tremendously proud of. I believe that over the years, we generated better revenue for creators, paid them out more than other podcasts would necessarily be able to, because we invested heavily in an infrastructure, took an individualized approach, anecdotally.
But you're saying you pay out more, but I mean, clearly that's, kind of not true, right?
Wait, but you asked for my story. Do you mind if I just tell the story? We're getting to the financial difficulties. Stephen.
Sure.
Our vision, it really worked. Creators benefited, made a lot more money than they would have. And many creators do have more money in their pocket now because of that. However, during the period from February 2022 until February 2023, our unit economics changed drastically. Our revenue per download, which is an important metric for analyzing sales performance, free from content performance considerations, dropped by 58%. In other words, over the course of those 12 months, the revenue that we could generate on one download moved down by 58%,
Okay, that took 3 minutes to get to a real answer. And I've got to be honest, this whole conversation was about that painful. Talking to somebody who owes creators millions and he's telling you how he got them paid so much money is a little frustrating, but setting that aside, the central claim of Colin is that all of this happened because revenues dropped in 2022 and he just couldn't pay people on time.
Well, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's just that, look, the ad revenue wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was a down period in the industry, Podcasts aren't doing that well these days, man. Times are tough for podcasters. Except Jim Cornette knows that's all bullshit because he happens to have the biggest podcast in all of wrestling. Probably one of the bigger podcasts in all of not wrestling as well. So Cornette had something to say about that. Check out this clip.
That's when we start hearing about industry conditions. Ignoring the fact that we are in this industry.
And our conditions have never been better.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. We know how to scale a business. We know how to make a profit. We're good. We have survived just fine any industry issues with advertising. We've done quite well. You've got a problem. It's not an industry problem, it's a you problem.
And of course, Coffeezilla wasn't sold on this story either, so he dug a little further and went out and interviewed a partner of Colin Thomson, and here's what he had to say. Check out this clip.
So let's go into the deeper waters. The truth is, these deals vary wildly, and some of the bigger podcasters demand something called a minimum guarantee, where they aren't just paid a split of ads, they're paid a guaranteed minimum every month. And podcasters love this because it means they don't have to wait so long to get paid. According to Colin, though, this is how he fell behind.
We had months in there where our gross profit margins were, literally negative prior to any operating expenses. Because the minimum guarantees that made economic sense when we made the deal were just completely underwater.
Basically, he overpaid. Kast made deals to bring people on in the first place, overpromised, and then couldn't pay. Even Colin's former business partner agreed with this, although he thinks some of the money went to Colin personally as well.
To be able to buy land where a lot of celebrities go to escape. But aside from that, the other thing that he has done is essentially make constant minimum guarantees to new talent to try to entice them to join Kast Media. So saying, you know, I'll give you a 1 year guaranteed $250,000, $500,000, whatever his minimum guarantee is. Now, I've heard that even as soon as February of this year, he was offering multi-million-dollar minimum guarantees. So
at the same time where he claims his revenues are way down, he's offering multi-million-dollar minimum guarantees for talent.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, his priority is trying to keep the new talent happy for a while, with essentially his whole goal of selling Kast to make big money in the end. But yeah, I would say that honestly, most of the money probably went to the minimum guarantees of other talent instead of to the people that it was supposed to go to.
Wow. Some of the money may have gone to a house. So I decided to look into that and found that Colin Thomson indeed bought a $1.7 million house the same year as his financial troubles. And I also found out that right about the time he was talking about declaring bankruptcy, he moved that house into a trust where the trustee was a Wyoming LLC he set up, which from where I stood looked a lot like hiding assets from a bankruptcy right before a bankruptcy. But when I confronted Colin about this, he said, I had things completely backwards. The truth is he was hiding his property for a totally different reason, a very sympathetic reason.
We anonymized our address because we were getting threats in the last 30 days. There's been, there's been nothing untoward.
I think you can see though how other people might see it another way, where it looks like you're trying to shield it by hiding it from a personal name into a trust owned by an LLC. I mean, in a very favorable state.
I assume you listen to the Jim Cornette episodes where they specify where I live, right? I assume you listen to the Jim Cornette episodes where they specifically call out where I live. We were really, really concerned. We were getting threats.
When I heard this, I was pretty alarmed and I totally understood his fears. So I went to go ahead and look for the episode where Jim Cornette apparently specifically called out where he lived, but it wasn't there. Actually, Jim Cornette never mentions a specific address, but a general area. But way more damning for Colin's story is the fact that that episode came out in July, but Colin formed his LLC for moving the house in June. Before these threats ever happened, he's creating this shell company. So I found it very hard to believe. I pointed this out to Colin and he said this, quote, they revealed general details and I anticipated the possibility of this happening. Brian threatened it very specifically in my original email exchange with him back in May. So I got a hold of those emails. There was no threat in them. Instead, Brian said things like, consider this a serious caution. We're going to make sure to endlessly let all listeners know with great detail that Colin Thomson of PodcastOne stole our money because he doesn't know how to run a business, which is sort of true. This guy doesn't know how to run a business. So I became increasingly convinced maybe, just maybe, Colin might be lying to me about why he hid his house in a trust with a Wyoming LLC trustee. Okay.
This is why I highly recommend you watch Coffeezilla, man. He digs into shit. He does the work. He does the journalism. He did it with Logan Paul. He's still doing it with Logan Paul. He does follow-ups and shit. He almost got sued by Logan Paul, but then Logan was like, no, I'm not going to do that because he knows it's shady. Coffeezilla knows where to get the dirt, and he's gotten to the bottom of it. And here's where all of this lies. Here's what happened with Kast Media, Jim Cornette, Theo Von. Check out this clip.
And look, I don't know how dumb this guy thinks we are, but in my opinion, what happened is pretty simple. I think Colin bought a $1.7 million house the same year as he had trouble paying people. I think his accounting was always sketchy. I think he overpromised people money to attract new talent. And I think in the end, he tried to sell it all to a bigger company and force these podcasters into raw deals.
in the end, he's going to get his. I think PodcastOne's kind of hearing all about this. And look, they're shady too. They got their own troubles. The whole industry's shady. You don't need it. Just fucking go out and do your own ad deals or whatever. Sign with Conrad if you need somebody else to do your ad deals. But I doubt a podcast like fucking Cornette's podcast is going to need anybody's help with anything. They are fantastic, doing fantastic. But they got themselves caught up in this mess. Colin Thomson, he's a little fucking rat, allegedly. You know, a little weasel, allegedly. He looks like Kip Sabian, allegedly. And all that allegedly stuff. But what are your thoughts? We've thoroughly investigated this. I will leave the link to the full Coffeezilla. I just played you some of the highlights and the stuff that really references Cornette. And the interviews with Brian Last and that sort of thing. But really, I recommend you check out the whole thing. Link is in the description below. And give his whole channel a follow. Watch some of his shit. He does good work. With that said, leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Well, AEW, ever since Wembley Stadium, has been boasting of setting this all-time record for paid attendance. But an audit to the request of information or whatever to the local police department says otherwise. That this 81,000 whatever number that is reported by AEW to the public is fictitious. Imagine that. A wrestling promotion working the numbers, brother. But in actuality, only like 72,000 some people showed up to the venue. There's a lot of nuance in here. But first, as you can imagine, it would be probably pretty fun to hear Eric Bischoff's take on this. So let's do that.
WrestleNomics, the first one to report this. Brandon Thurston, who we've had on this podcast, go check it out in the archives, 83weeks.com. There was a Freedom of Information Public Records request put in for the turnstile count for last month's AEW All-In show at Wembley Stadium. And the Brent Council responded to the request and stated that the turnstile number, which is the actual ticketed fans that went through the gates into the venue.
Real people.
And counted, was 72,265. Now, the announced total paid number by AEW was 81,035, which would have, in theory, set a lot of records. Now, there are a lot of variables at play here, but I'd love to hear your reaction to this news.
What are the variables?
So I would say the biggest variable, as far as I see it, when you have mass public on sales, there are going to be scalpers who buy up a lot of seats. I'm not going to sit here and say that 9,000 to 10,000 seats were scalpers, but I do think it's plausible that there's a good number of those were bought in bulk and ultimately never sold on resale. So that's going to count towards your paid attendance because they were purchased tickets ultimately, and they were never resold. Am I going to say it's 9,000 to 10,000? I don't know about
because
that.
Because nobody wanted them.
Regardless of what that is, whether anyone wanted them or not, or the price was too much, whatever it may be. Tony Khan insisted, I mean, he swore by it that night, that the paid attendance was the 81,000 plus number. I see that smirk on your face.
It's not surprising to me if Tony Khan actually purchased that block of tickets hoping to resell them, especially if he was absolutely 100% confident that those were sold tickets, and the emphasis put on sold tickets, purchased tickets. And that could be true. And by the way, it would surprise me a bit. And I don't know that I necessarily criticize it. It creates a marketing tool in a meeting down the road, a month from now, 6 months from now, negotiating for site fees, whatever. It's a hell of a thing to have in a PowerPoint. And it may be worth a couple bucks for Tony to buy a block of tickets to make sure that he crossed that threshold.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that you think that this was a self-purchased?
I'd do it.
Yeah. Did you ever do it?
Accountable to anybody?
Did you ever do it?
Billions of dollars in my checking account to play in my own sandbox
and nobody was going to tell me no. And I felt like I was really convinced of being able to spin or sell that story. It's not a spin, sell that. Well, I guess it could be a spin now. But if I thought by doing that, it would ensure my ability to come out and throw down the gauntlet, because obviously that's been important to Tony from day one, probably could convince myself it was just a marketing expense.
Did you guys ever do something like that?
No, because I was accountable. If I would have gone to Harvey Schiller and said, Harvey, I get this chance to break a record and I'm going to buy 10,000 of my own tickets, no, that conversation would not have gone well. But Tony doesn't have that. Tony's just Tony. He's got all the money in the world. He can do whatever he wants.
And then poor Will Ospreay, this poor fucking bloke. So his mom hates tattoos, but he insisted he go out and he get this tattoo commemorating his appearance at the biggest, livest, attendest show of all time. And he got the number tattooed on his arm. Oh, wah, wah, wah. Check out this clip. At least he's taking it with a sense of humor.
Will Ospreay got the 81,000 plus number tattooed on him because
you better get an asterisk put next to it now. Otherwise, it ain't legit, dude.
I am currently in Japan. I've had no fucking sleep. I am tired. And I'll wake up. This is the worst fucking day of my life. Do you know how hard it was for me to get a tattoo? My mum fucking hates them, bruv. They announced it to everyone. They announced it to 81,000 people. I've got this fucking thing on my arm.
That poor guy. What a sweetheart, but what a poor guy. Look, you can get that covered up somehow or get it fucking removed and tatted over with the new number. Semantics. Funny. I mean, look, it's not a Cody Rhodes neck tattoo, but it's funny nonetheless. The number's still the same, and here's where the semantics come in. And John Alba covered a little bit of that in that Bischoff clip. Is that technically it is believed that the paid attendance, the paid ticket sale, who paid to go to this event is still the 81,000. Those were the tickets sold. So technically, well, this is semantics because the highest attended wrestling show of all time was the one in North Korea, which nobody wants to talk about because it was mandated at threat of death or imprisonment. This one was paid for, and these were the most actual tickets sold. You know, WWE has worked their numbers for other shows in the past, the 100,000 in Dallas, the 93,000 in Pontiac. But at the end of the day, none of those were the actual people that were in the building or tickets sold. AEW, by all accounts, still does hold the record for the most tickets sold to a wrestling event. However, as Eric Bischoff speculates, maybe Tony Khan bought some extra tickets to get the record, to set them over the edge. Maybe somebody else did. Maybe it's a work, brother. It's a privately held company. There's no reason to go public with that information. They very well could have done that. And that's a thing that I don't want to just discount outright and say that's not possible. We all know it is possible. Because about 10,000 of those tickets sold, 9,000 and change didn't show up to the show. Now, some of those people might have had some other shit pop up. Got called into work, couldn't make it, can't afford to make the trip, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? Scalpers, another huge chunk of that, right? Like the people that buy them in advance and then try to flip them on the resale market for more. That maybe they weren't able to move those tickets. Or maybe Tony Khan bought them to set the all-time paid attendance for a show. Maybe not thinking that the actual people that walk through the door would be counted by somebody. I mean, I don't know. I feel a little bad for Will Ospreay. Oof, I had a hiccup there. Feel a little bad for Will Ospreay, but he'll live. He'll be fine. He can always have it removed or whatever. The tickets were still sold. I mean, it was still a record. He was still part of that record, so he could keep it there if he just wants to keep the record. You know, if he wants the tattoo to be who's in the building, well, yeah. But then you got to add, you know, the AEW says that they did not add all the fucking the people that worked there, the comps, the fucking all the actual people that WWE likes to add in, the ring crew, all that, the lighting crew, the production guys. WWE will count the janitors, the fucking popcorn sellers. They count everybody in the building, the parking lot people, all of them, photographers, media, family and friends backstage. WWE counts all those when they try to spout these 100,000 people attendance and that kind of thing. So really, AEW is probably still back up around those, you know, it was speculated that they were probably closer to like 90,000 in attendance. You know, there was close to, you know, 9 or 10 extra thousand people in there, and it bounces back out to the 80,000. So Will Ospreay, he's all right. He's all right. It's all semantics. That would make WrestleMania, was it 32 in Dallas? Again, the most attended attended, actually physically attended, paid wrestling show of all time. They would hold the in North Korea the highest attended, AEW the highest tickets sold for a wrestling show, WWE the highest in the building for a wrestling show, highest paid in a building. I don't fucking know. I got a headache even thinking about it. Poor Will Ospreay's probably got an even bigger headache thinking about it. I don't think anybody's lying or trying to fib the numbers or pull any wool over anybody's eyes. But, you know, hell, it is a possibility that maybe some extra ticket. Where are those extra tickets? Where are those 9,000 some people that did not show up to Wembley? Not all of them were just smudged. You know what I mean? I'm sure there were 1,000 or so that were just couldn't make it. You know, out of 80,000 people, 1,000 might not be able to make it for some reason. That can happen. The rest, scalpers, possibly Tony Khan. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think Tony Khan was fucking with everybody, trying to work everybody? Do you think they were just liars, dirty liars, fixing the numbers? Or do you think it's just all a bunch of semantics and all just or, you know, poor Will Ospreay. What are your thoughts on him and his sorry tattoo? All of those in the description below. I'm going to go ahead and move on with my life. So we almost made it through an entire episode without talking about CM Punk. So I felt like it was only necessary to do a story on CM Punk, just to kind of, I didn't want you guys to get the feeling that something weird was going on. You know, I want you guys to feel right at home with the usual of this show. So we got a CM Punk story this week here. CM Punk, the big speculation is he going to be in WWE now? CM Punk, the WWE confirmed. Lots going on here with this, starting with the comments from Nick Khan, the very public comments where he said this here.
ESPN asked Nick Khan if WWE would be interested in CM Punk making a return. And he said, listen, we only have respect for Phil, Khan said. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and tried to do with UFC. Not many people can actually get in there and do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, we wish him nothing but the best. What a loaded statement.
Well, to me, that's just corporate speak, right? He's not tipping his hand either way. It doesn't sound like he's particularly interested in Phil, but hey, we have a lot of respect for Phil. Buttering him up a little bit. Phil, we know him personally. Phil, good old Philly boy, right? My boy Phil. We respect Phil over here. And now he's got those ties to the UFC. Obviously, he's a commentator for MMA. As a matter of fact, on his MMA commentary show, he had said that he was asked if he's going to be around for a while. And he said, yeah, I'll be here for, my schedule's free for about 2 months. People very astutely, smarter than myself, astutely pointed out that 2 months from now is the Survivor Series in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago. It's interesting. CM Punk could just be stirring the pot. Nick Khan could just be stirring the pot. Is he going to the WWE? And look, a lot of people don't want Punk in the WWE. One of those people who pushed back against it severely this week. Just the very notion of even thinking about bringing in Punk. Did not hold back or mince words. Shot hard, if you will. I try not to use, I think it becomes hyperbolic in wrestling. Shoots on. I was very guilty of it myself. I try to be more particular about that now. And really kind of bust it out when it is appropriate. And in this particular clip from the Click This podcast with Mr. Kevin Nash, you will see it's abundantly clear that Kevin Nash shoots hard on CM Punk.
Punk wanted to make an appearance in first wanted to in a WWE ring for the Royal Rumble when he was first having issues with AEW months ago. And then
please do, motherfucker, because I'll ask Paul to put me in that bitch.
I was going to ask you, knowing some people over there, as you do, is that, by the way, there's been no indication that WWE was open to this.
I'll be on the horn tomorrow to see if we can't make that happen.
Because there is a when is their August? When is their Chicago pay-per-view?
Sucker punch me, skinny fat boy.
When is the me or Punk?
Oh, fucking
they're skinny fat boy.
Short order fucking. I apologize to Waffle House at this point in my career for actually calling him a short order Waffle House cook. My bad. Fuck you.
I like the more natural build on.
Fuck you, Phil. Yeah, I always like my wrestlers to have birthing hips.
So there's some speculation as there's a Chicago pay-per-view planned for Survivor Series.
Yeah, because you know what, man? Selling that fucking company for $9 billion, boy. What you need on a ship that's fucking sailing on fucking crystal clear water is some fucking asshole to fucking stir shit. Punk, with his fucking, what was that thing he used to give everybody? A pipe job?
Yeah, the pipe job.
Yeah, so I think he wanted to give Paul a pipe job, and so he's like, so, hey, I give you a pipe job or whatever the fuck his gimmick was, and then he said, I got a fucking Pepsi tattoo, and Paul said, yeah, go fuck yourself, and he beat him. So after Taker beat him, after everybody else, because everybody just beats the fucking guy because he just like, dude, you fucking. Thank God that he's got the Duffy Wrestling League in Duffy, Georgia, on the show Heels. Because I did see him in the last episode, though he didn't have any dialogue. He looked interested in what was going down because there's an LA-based entity that's doing streaming that's thinking about buying into the DWL. So if you're not watching fucking Heels, you're not getting your chance to fucking get your CM Punk Phil. See what I did there? CM Punk Phil.
Get it. Very well done. So You're in a WWE office. You're Vince
Hey,
McMahon. You're Paul Levesque.
Sean,
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Yeah, I got no heat with this guy. I'm just fucking man. After last week, the fucking
Those
numbers
fucking
we got,
ratings were amazing.
fuck yeah, right? Just
Yeah,
milk this motherfucker as long as we can. Like fuck that. Like all we need now is we gave Steve enough right now to fucking. We got a 75,000 hits just on that one right there.
Sometimes I wish Nash wouldn't beat around the bush so much and would just tell us what he really feels. It's funny how he said in there, he's like, I don't really have any heat. I'm just doing this for... He might just be stirring the pot for a work. They just recently talked about his beef that he had with, what was his name? Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. Ricky Morton was talking shit about Kevin, was doing it as a complete work just to stir up the ratings and stuff. And Nash is like, the views on these CM Punk videos. So they know. I mean, Kevin Nash could just be working, but I mean, he has said as much in the past. You never know with Kev. He's a smart guy, very smart guy, savvy to the business, and a worker to the bitter end. So take anything that Nash says on his show like this with a grain of salt, but boy, he didn't hold back on Punk. He even go as far as to say, hey, fucking throw me in the Rumble if he comes back. I'll jump in there. I'll fucking throw his ass out. Making fun of his body. The worst body to ever hold a title. And Nash is fun. Good old burial of CM Punk, but it remains to be seen. Punk is a free agent. Certainly there's money to be made over in the WWE, but is it worth bringing that personality into your locker room? That's a big bite to take off, a big bite to try to take out of everything's going so good over there. Like Nash said, man, you got a new company and everything. But on the other hand, new company that owns it. Dana White has a good relationship with CM Punk. UFC has a good relationship with CM Punk. Maybe TKO, maybe Ari Emanuel will recommend that CM Punk would be a good crossover personality to bring in. Perhaps. Maybe it's not up to Seth Rollins, who doesn't like Phil. I don't want him around. Maybe it's not up to him. Maybe it is inevitable that we see old Philly Phil back in the WWE. Who knows? I think probably a good move to get rid of him from AEW, though. At this point, like, it's just going to keep going. So, like, make your move one way or another and stick with it. So, they did. It's done. Let's see. The wrestling world continues to turn, and they continue to speculate about one CM Punk. But it appears news has died down for now about Mr. Punk. But that's the latest of this week. All the speculation, the rumor, the innuendo, the hinting of a said return. We'll see how it goes. Like Mussolini. Not even gonna bother can't do it justice like Mr. Cornette can. On to the next. So this one's a story that I just honestly couldn't resist. I did this for me. I've always been fascinated by the concept of the wrestling bear. And it was on an episode of Something to Wrestle recently, where Bruce Prichard was asked kind of about the history, in a way, of the wrestling bear. And we got a good little education into the wrestling bear. That's right. Working bears actually wrestled. Check out these clips.
But the gimmick with wrestling the bears is that the bears actually were wrestlers.
Right.
They could work. All right. Now, there were some shooter bears. There were some shooter bears and there were some hooker bears.
Oh.
You don't want to fuck with, man.
Okay.
Don't get the bear mad. And the gimmick was you would have the handler. Nick Roberts, we'll use Nick in this instance. Nick would be the referee. So Nick would bring the bear down to the ring and all this stuff, and the bear goes up the steps and gets crawls in the ring and all this shit. And they introduce him. And he gets up on his hind legs and raises his little paws. And, Nick's controlling him the whole time. Then you get your opponent in the ring and Nick takes the leash off. Ruh-roh.
Uh-oh.
And it's on. And the bear would come to the ring, stand on its hind legs, and he would lock up. You do go behind on the bear would hook you, the bear would either do like an ankle pick, or the bear would hip toss you. And you get up like, holy shit, then the bear would go like to pin you. And usually he'd let you kick out the first time. And then it's like you go around and you try to get to the bear and you go behind again. Now he does a flying mare. All right. Snap takeover. Then the bear would you'd get down on, now you're on the ground and you get down on all fours. Now the bear would ride you like an amateur. The bear would mount you. Now, in theory, it's like a wrestling match. Wrestler gets behind you and they ride you and they get you in a waist lock. When it's a bear doing it to a human, it's a little more suggestive, let's just say.
Okay.
And so that, that's fun for people and everything, because, the bear can have his way with you anytime he really wants. And they had muzzles on the bear. Sometimes they put, gloves on the paws. But most of Nick's, that's Nick right there, man. If you guys are watching on YouTube, Nick is the one in the trunks with the stars on it. He was from Amarillo. And his didn't wear the gloves, okay? And they would have sometimes, you'd go, hey, wrestle the bear, last 5 minutes with the bear, and get $1,000 or whatever. No, look, nobody can last 5 minutes with the bear. I don't give a shit who you are. You couldn't last 5 minutes with the bear. Now, Danny Hodge, legend has it, tried to stretch the bear one time.
Oh, God.
Yeah, true story. And, that didn't go too well. But yeah, the bear, as soon as the bear's ready to go home,
it's over.
He's going home.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going home. Like, when he gets bored in there, he's going home. But the other fun thing about the fun thing. So after each match, the bear got his payday. And his payday was what?
The payday.
Regardless, man, let's just say that you had Gary Hart working with the bear. All right.
All right.
Gary would get dressed and all the boys would go and take either molasses or honey.
Oh, no.
And they would slap Gary on the ass or slap whoever's working with the bear. All right. Everybody would get honey and shit on their hands and go by and kind of slap them. Hey, man, good luck tonight. Slap them on the ass. So when the match starts, the bear, because he's a bear, okay? The bear smells the honey.
Of course he
does.
does.
The bear wants that honey.
Yeah, he does.
Bear don't give a shit about fucking, hey, drop down tackle, get it again. It's like, you did drop down tackle. Fuck you, man. I want the honey. And it smells like it's coming out of your ass.
Oh, God.
So he goes, and no matter what kind of muscle you have on the bear has a very long tongue. Big tongue. And that's what the bear uses. Get that honey.
My goodness.
So this bear tongue comes out, and the bear goes and basically starts attacking their ass because it's got honey on it.
Right.
He wants that honey. And if he tastes a little bit on the outside, he knows there's got to be more inside. So bears do what bears do. They go after that honey.
Only in professional wrestling would you have fucking fish oil or honey smeared into someone's tights or on their back or on their person of some kind. that's going to get in the ring with an actual live bear. Only in professional wrestling is that a funny rib. What a rib. The bear's going to want to eat his ass because it's going to smell like honey, you see. So the working bear is going to resort to its animal instincts and go for the food, the yum-yums, and not so much just do what it's trained to do. Now, most of the time, these bears have been muzzled throughout the history of the wrestling bear. Some declawed or put gloves on or whatever the fuck. Some not. But a bear will wrestle you, but it is a wild animal, nonetheless, that can kill you instantly. And as Bruce said, when the bear's ready to go home, the bear's going to go home. When he's done working, that's it. You know, he'll entertain it for a while, but once he gets bored with you, he's going to go home. He's on top of you. He's going to beat you 1, 2, 3. That's it. And you tap out or some shit. Only in pro wrestling do they have a house full of wrestlers who have a bear under the front porch that licks their feet. Licks the ice cream off their feet, as Brett used to like to say. A wrestling bear. Who keeps a bear under their porch? The Hart family. A family of wrestlers. A wrestling bear, though. He's a working bear. He's a smart bear. I'm endlessly fascinated by a wrestling bear. I think that's something that they should still do. There should be more of it. Somebody should wrestle a bear nowadays. That would be fun. Sounds like a good GCW gimmick, right? Matt Cardona versus the wrestling bear. Nick Cage versus a wrestling bear in a fucking bear death match. That would be fun. See the bear fucking stabbing Nick Cage in the head with a light tube. PETA would be all over it. The WWF would have a fit. The World Wildlife Fund, Foundation, whatever the fuck they are. It's the crazy world of pro wrestling. You cannot make this up. I thought to myself, if I tried to explain to somebody about people wrestling bears and the bear under the porch of the Hart family, how do you explain this stuff? How do you explain the rib of putting honey on the guy's trunks? How do you explain that to a normal human being? Like if I were to just, tell if you're going to tell your cousin about wrestling bears, how would you go about telling that story? How would they would never believe you. The unreal world of professional wrestling. That's why I love it. I love it so much. I love the history of pro wrestling, the weird, wild history of pro wrestling. It's great. It's good shit. This was just fun for me. I wanted to share this with you guys, this clip here. If you had not found it or heard of it when you were listening to, if you missed that in your podcast listening this week or last week or whenever the fuck it came out, then you missed a good segment on the Wrestling Bears. I put it in the clips below from the Something to Wrestle podcast with Bruce Prichard. Let me know your thoughts. Would you wrestle a bear? Do you trust a wrestling bear? Or do you think you never trust a wild animal? What if you fed it cocaine before you put the honey? What about the rib of putting the honey on the guy's trunks, on his back? That's funny, right? That's funny shit. I think so. To me, I laughed my ass off when I heard that, but that's just me. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. That's it, y'all. We have reached the end of our journey once again for the 90th time. We have reached the end. We have reached the end of our show, the end of our 90th show. I do have an announcement I will be making on the 100th episode. So, on the 100th episode, probably at the end, maybe at the beginning. I don't fucking know. This will be a major announcement regarding the show going forward after the 100th episode. This will be as earth-shaking of a announcement as it was when I first made the jump from audio to video. You know, the show started as an audio-only podcast, and I made the switch to doing the video so you can see my handsome, pretty face. Now, I'm not going anywhere, so it's not that. I'm not retiring from the game, so don't get your panties in a bunch. All my beautiful supporters. And then all my haters, don't get all excited. I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to be sticking around. But I do have a major announcement in regards to the future of this show on the 100th episode. My God, 100 episodes. We are 10 away from that. How exciting. But that's it. That's all I got for you this week for the 90th. It's just the 90th in the can. Oh, we got fucking Vince McMahon no longer owning the WWE outright. TKO is a thing now. We got the fucking Will Ospreay's weirdo tattoo. We got The Rock smelling what The Rock's cooking. It's been a good week in the world of podcasting. But until next week, I am your host, Seth Grimes, and this has been the Pro Wrestling Podcast.